Before we dive in, it's critical to understand that this video provides general information and a roadmap based on extensive research and experience. However, teacher certification requirements are intensely specific to each state, and they change frequently. This presentation is for educational purposes only. You must always use your state's official Department of Education website and consult with an accredited university advisor as your ultimate source of truth. Think of this series as your guide, but think of them as your law. Okay, let's get into it. There are over 3 million public school teachers in the United States, and I guarantee almost every single one of them has a story about a moment they wanted to tear their hair out, not because of a student, but because of the bureaucratic nightmare of getting their teaching license. My moment came in a letter. I'd finished my degree, I'd passed my initial exams, I had spent tens of thousands of dollars on tuition, and I was ready to change the world. I opened that crisp envelope from the State Certification Board, and my heart just plummeted. It was a rejection letter. Not a "you're not good enough" rejection, but a "you filled out Form 8B instead of 8C, and you're missing a 3-credit course on underwater basket weaving you never knew you needed" rejection. Felt like a sick joke. All that work, all that passion, put on hold by a technicality buried on page 47 of a website designed in 1998. If that feeling of confusion, of staring at a government website that makes zero sense, sounds even remotely familiar, then you are in exactly the right place. Because the single biggest barrier to becoming a teacher in America isn't a lack of passion or a lack of knowledge. It's the maze. It's a deliberately confusing 50-state patchwork quilt of rules, regulations, and acronyms designed to gatekeep the profession. And navigating it on your own is a recipe for wasted time, wasted money, and soul-crushing frustration. This 10-part series is the solution. This is the definitive step-by-step guide to getting your professional teaching certificate in the United States. We are going to turn that confusing maze into a straight line. By the end of this series, you won't just understand the process. You will have a personalized action plan to get you from where you are right now to holding that official teaching license in your hand, ready to land your dream job. We will break down the traditional route versus the alternative routes. We will demystify the alphabet soup of exams like the Praxis, the Pearson, the ETPA. We will cover the background checks, the paperwork, the fees, and the critical mistakes that get 90% of applicants tripped up. I've been through this process myself, and I have personally guided hundreds of aspiring educators through it. I've seen the pitfalls, and I'm going to make sure you walk right around them. So let's build our map. The entire journey to certification, no matter what state you're in, boils down to 3 core pillars. Think of it like a 3-legged stool. If one leg is wobbly, the whole thing collapses. These pillars are: number 1, your education; number 2, your examinations; and number 3, your application. That's it. Education, examinations, application. Every single requirement, every form, every test falls into one of those 3 buckets. In this first part, we are going to tackle the biggest pillar of all education. This is your foundation. This is the formal training and degree you need to even be considered. And right away, you have a major choice to make between 2 primary paths: the traditional route and the alternative route. Let's start with the traditional route. This is what most people picture when they think of becoming a teacher. You go to a 4-year university, and you major in education. You might get a Bachelor of Science in elementary education, or a Bachelor of Arts in secondary education with a focus in, say, history or biology. These programs are specifically designed from day one to meet all of your state's certification requirements. Your coursework will include pedagogy, which is the science and art of teaching, classroom management, child psychology, and curriculum development. The absolute cornerstone of the traditional route is the practicum, more commonly known as student teaching. This is where the rubber meets the road. For an entire semester, or sometimes even a full year, you are embedded in a real school, in a real classroom with a real veteran mentor teacher. You start by observing, then you co-teach, and eventually you take over the class completely. It is intense, it is immersive, and it is non-negotiable. You cannot get certified through a traditional program without successfully completing your student teaching. The huge advantage of this route is that it's a one-stop shop. The university holds your hand, tells you exactly what classes to take, what tests to register for, and often even helps you file the final paperwork. If you're coming right out of high school, or you know for a fact that teaching is your calling, the traditional route is the most straightforward, comprehensive path you can take. But what if that's not you? What if you're a career changer? What if you already have a bachelor's degree in accounting or engineering or marketing, and you've discovered your true passion is for teaching? Do you have to go back to school for another 4 years? Absolutely not. And this is where the second path, the alternative route, comes in. Alternative certification programs, or ACPs, are designed for people who already hold a bachelor's degree in a field other than education. These programs are booming in popularity because they are faster, often cheaper, and more flexible than a traditional 4-year degree. Instead of redoing your entire bachelor's, an ACP focuses only on the essential education coursework you missed, the pedagogy, the classroom management, the teaching methods. These programs can be run by universities, by school districts, or even by private, for-profit companies. Some are fully online, some are in-person, some are a hybrid. The timeline can be as short as a few months to a couple of years. Many alternative routes get you into the classroom and getting paid much faster, sometimes with a provisional or intern certificate, while you complete your coursework at night or on weekends. This is a massive advantage for career changers who can't afford to stop working for a year to do unpaid student teaching. The trade-off is that you are often thrown into the deep end. Your first day of teaching might be your first day ever leading a class. Can be a trial by fire. You also have to be much more of a self-advocate. You are responsible for making sure the program you choose is legitimate and will actually lead to a full professional certificate in your state. And this brings me to the single most important piece of advice in this entire video. Whether you go the traditional or alternative route, the program you choose must be 2 things. 1, it must be regionally accredited, and 2, it must be a state-approved educator preparation program. Write those terms down. Accreditation ensures the university or college meets a high standard of academic quality. State-approved means that the state's Department of Education has specifically reviewed that program's curriculum and has certified that its graduates will meet the requirements for a teaching license in that state. If you choose a program that is not both of these things, you risk graduating with a degree that is completely worthless for certification. You will have wasted all of your time and all of your money. So how do you check? You go to your state's Department of Education website. I know, they're terrible, but this is non-negotiable. And you find their list of approved educator preparation programs. If the school and specific program you're considering is not on that official list, do not enroll. It's a dead end. So, your first major action item is to decide, are you a traditional route candidate starting from scratch? Or are you an alternative route candidate, leveraging a degree you already have? This decision will shape your entire journey. It dictates the type of program you look for, your timeline, and your cost. Once you've got a handle on the educational path, you're ready to face the next great hurdle that stops so many aspiring teachers in their tracks: the exams. This is where that alphabet soup of acronyms comes into play, and it's where the anxiety really starts to build for people. But it doesn't have to. In the next part, we are going to completely demystify the world of teacher certification exams. We'll break down exactly what the Praxis Core, the Praxis subject assessments, and the dreaded performance-based assessments like EdTPA are, which ones you actually need to take for your specific license, and most importantly, the simple strategies to ensure you pass them on your first try. Alright, let's dive into the labyrinth of teacher certification exams. Think of these tests as a series of gates you have to pass through. The first gate for many is the Praxis Core Academic Skills for Educators, or as most people just call it, the Praxis Core. This is essentially the SAT or ACT for aspiring teachers. Its entire purpose is to ensure that every teacher, regardless of whether they teach kindergarten art or high school physics, has a baseline competency in 3 fundamental areas: reading, writing, and mathematics. It's not testing your ability to teach, it's testing your own academic foundation. The reading test will throw passages at you, some informational, some literary, and ask you to identify the main idea, analyze the author's argument, and understand vocabulary in context. The writing test is a 2-parter. You'll answer multiple choice questions about grammar, usage, and sentence structure, and then you'll have to write 2 essays, 1 argumentative and 1 informational. Finally, the math test covers what you'd expect: number and quantity, algebra, geometry, and some data interpretation and statistics. We're talking about high school level math here, but for many of us, high school was a long time ago. Now, here is the single most important thing you need to know about the Praxis Core before you spend a single dollar on a registration fee or a study guide. You might not even have to take it. I want you to pause and hear that again. You might be able to skip this test entirely. Many states, in an effort to streamline the process and attract more candidates, will waive the Praxis Core requirement if you have a qualifying score on the SAT, ACT, or in some cases even the GRE. The exact scores vary by state, so your first action item is to go to your state's Department of Education website and search for Praxis Core Waiver, or testing requirement exemptions. This one search could save you hundreds of dollars and weeks of studying. If you do have to take it, don't panic. The strategy is simple: diagnose then treat. Take a full-length practice test, see where you're weakest and focus your energy there. If it's the math, Khan Academy is your best friend. If it's the essays, practice outlining arguments and refreshing your grammar rules. This is a beatable test. But proving you have the basic skills is just the first gate. The next one is about proving you're an expert in what you actually want to teach. That's where the Praxis subject assessments come in. These are not general knowledge tests. These are deep dives into a specific content area. If you want to be a high school biology teacher, you'll take the biology content knowledge test. An elementary teacher? You'll likely take the multi-subject elementary education exam, which covers literacy, math, science, and social studies. There are over 90 different subject assessments, from agriculture to world languages. This is where you prove you have the chops. You can't teach history if you don't know history. The biggest mistake people make here is assuming the test is universal. It is not. The specific test you need and the score you need to pass is dictated entirely by your state. Pennsylvania might require the English language arts content and analysis test with a passing score of 162, while Texas, which uses its own TXES system, has a completely different exam for the same license. So your second action item is critical. Go back to your state's Department of Education website and find the exact test code and name, and the exact qualifying score for the specific license you are seeking. Do not study for a test until you know precisely which one you need. Once you have that test code, your study strategy is straightforward. Go to the official Praxis website, find your test, and download the Test Companion or Study Companion. This document is your roadmap. It tells you in excruciating detail every single topic and concept that can appear on the exam and what percentage of the test is dedicated to it. Don't just read it. Print it out and use it as a checklist. If it says 15% of the test is on genetics and evolution, you should be spending 15% of your study time on that topic. Work backward from this document. Takes all the guesswork out of studying. You're not just reading a textbook hoping the right information sticks. You are surgically targeting the exact knowledge the test makers have told you they are going to ask about. Okay, so you've proven you have the basic academic skills with the core, and you've proven you know your subject inside and out with the subject assessment. But can you actually teach? Can you stand in front of a room of students, manage a classroom, make complex ideas understandable, and assess if they're actually learning? That's the million-dollar question that performance-based assessments are designed to answer. And the biggest, most notorious one is the EdTPA. The EdTPA is not a multiple-choice test you take in a quiet room. It is a portfolio you build during your student teaching experience. It is a beast, and it's the source of countless sleepless nights for student teachers across the country. But let's demystify it. The EdTPA asks you to document one continuous segment of your own teaching, usually about 3 to 5 lessons. You submit your lesson plans, instructional materials, student work samples, and even 2 short video clips of you actually teaching in the classroom. Then you have to write extensive, and I mean extensive commentaries. We're talking dozens of pages justifying every single decision you made. Why did you choose this learning objective? How does this assessment measure student learning? How did you support your English language learners? Why did you ask that question at that moment in the video? It's broken down into 3 tasks. Task 1 is planning. You explain your context, your students, and your rationale for the lessons you've designed. Task 2 is instruction. This is where you submit your video clips and write a deep analysis of your teaching moves and the student engagement you see. Task 3 is assessment. You analyze student work, provide targeted feedback, and explain your next steps for instruction based on that data. The key to conquering the EdTPA is to understand that it's not just about being a good teacher. It's about being able to explain why you're a good teacher using the very specific language and evidence the scorers are looking for. Your Bible for this process is the official EdTPA handbook for your subject area. Read it, then read it again. The rubrics at the end of that handbook are not suggestions. They are the literal scoring guide. The highest scoring portfolios are the ones that are explicitly written to the rubrics. Use the exact vocabulary from the rubrics in your commentaries. If the rubric asks how you will build on students' prior learning, you better have a sentence that starts with, "I will build on students' prior learning by." Feels repetitive, but you are not writing a novel. You are providing evidence to a scorer who is going down a checklist. Make their job easy. Justify every claim with evidence from your lesson plans, your videos, or your student work samples. Connect your choices to educational theory. Don't just say you're using group work. Explain that you are using cooperative learning strategies to promote academic discourse, citing Vygotsky's theory of social development. It's an academic paper about your own teaching. Frame it that way, live by the rubrics, and you will get through it. Passing these exams, the core, the subject assessments, and a performance assessment like EdTPA, is a massive milestone. It's the academic and pedagogical gauntlet you have to run. But it's not the finish line. Because now that you've proven you have the knowledge, you have to find the right program to forge you into a teacher. And choosing the wrong one can cost you years of your life and tens of thousands of dollars. In the next part, we'll break down the critical differences between traditional university programs, alternative routes, and online-only options, so you can choose the absolute best path for you. So let's break down those options, because this is the single biggest decision you'll make on this journey. Think of it like choosing your vehicle for a cross-country road trip. You have the reliable scenic route sedan, the high-speed, no-frills sports car, and the work-from-anywhere custom-built camper van. Each one will get you to the destination, a teaching certificate, but the journey, the cost, and the experience will be wildly different. First up is the sedan, the traditional university program. This is the path most people picture. 4 years, a leafy campus, football games, and late-night study sessions in the library. You enroll in a Bachelor of Education program right out of high school, or you add a Master of Arts in teaching after you've completed another bachelor's degree. The biggest selling point here is depth and structure. You are immersed in the world of education theory. You'll spend semesters diving into child psychology, pedagogical strategies, curriculum development, and the history of the American education system. You build a cohort, a tight-knit group of fellow students who you go through the entire program with. These people become your first professional network, your support system, your future colleagues. And then comes the crown jewel of the traditional route, student teaching. This isn't just a brief internship. We're talking a full semester, sometimes even a full year, where you are paired with an experienced mentor teacher in a real classroom. You're not just observing, you're co-planning lessons, grading papers, managing classroom behavior, and eventually taking over the class entirely. It's a guided, hands-on apprenticeship that is simply unparalleled in its thoroughness. The university has established relationships with local school districts, so they handle the logistics of your placement. This is the slow and steady wins the race approach. But let's talk about the downsides because they are significant. The first is time. It's a multi-year commitment, period. If you're a career changer in your 30s, the thought of going back to college for 4 more years can be a non-starter. The second and most glaring is the cost. A traditional degree from a 4-year university, whether public or private, can saddle you with tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, of dollars in student loan debt before you've even earned your first teacher's salary. It's a massive financial gamble. This path is perfect for the recent high school graduate who wants that full college experience, or for someone who has the time and financial resources to invest in a deep, foundational education. Next, let's get in the sports car. The Alternative Certification Program, or ACP. This is the fast track, the boot camp, the express lane. These programs are specifically designed for people who already have a bachelor's degree in a subject other than education. You are an engineer? Great, you can teach physics. A history major? Perfect, you can teach social studies. The core philosophy of an ACP is this: you already have the subject matter expertise, we just need to teach you how to teach. So, instead of 4 years, you're looking at an intensive program that can last anywhere from a few months to a year. It's laser-focused on the absolute essentials: classroom management, lesson planning, and state-specific teaching laws. The biggest pro is speed. Many programs are designed so you can be the teacher of record, meaning the head teacher in your own classroom with your own salary, incredibly quickly, sometimes within a single summer. You learn the basics, pass your certification exams, and get hired. You then complete the rest of your coursework in the evenings, or on weekends during your first year of teaching. It's a learn-while-you-earn model, which dramatically lowers the financial barrier. You're not spending years out of the workforce, you're entering it. But driving a sports car can be risky. The speed of an ACP is also its greatest weakness. Critics call it a trial by fire, and they're not wrong. You are drinking from a fire hose of information. The deep dive into educational theory and child psychology? It's often condensed into a weekend seminar. The long mentored student teaching experience? It might be replaced with a few weeks of observation before you're handed the keys to your own classroom of 30 students. The burnout rate for teachers from alternative routes can be higher. simply because the initial support structure isn't as robust. This path is tailor-made for the motivated, self-starting career changer who needs to get into the classroom quickly and has the confidence to learn on the job. Finally, we have the custom camper van, the online-only program. This route offers the ultimate in flexibility. For decades, a teaching degree was something you had to show up for. Not anymore. Reputable universities across the country now offer fully online bachelor's and master's degrees in education. The curriculum often mirrors their on-campus programs, but instead of sitting in a lecture hall, you're watching videos, participating in discussion boards, and submitting assignments from your laptop at 10 p.m. after the kids are in bed. The advantage is obvious. You can fit your education around your life, not the other way around. You can keep your full-time job. You can raise your family. You don't have to move to a new city to attend your dream school. And often, these programs are more affordable because they don't have the overhead of maintaining a physical campus. However, this freedom comes with a huge responsibility. You have to be incredibly self-disciplined and organized. There's no professor looking over your shoulder or a study group to keep you on track. You are the sole driver of your own progress. The biggest logistical hurdle for online programs is a big one: arranging your student teaching. While the coursework is online, the student teaching component is, by necessity, in person. Unlike a traditional university with deep local ties, an online program based 1,000 miles away can't just place you in your neighborhood school. Often, the burden falls on you to find a school district and a mentor teacher willing to take you on, and then get that placement approved by your online university. It's a significant administrative headache that you have to navigate almost entirely on your own. This path is ideal for the highly motivated, independent learner who has non-negotiable life commitments, like a job or a family, and needs a program that bends to their schedule. So, the sedan, the sports car, or the camper van? How do you choose? It boils down to a simple question: what is your most valuable resource? If it's time and you want the deepest possible foundation, the traditional route is your answer. If it's speed and you need to start earning a salary now, the alternative route is built for you. And if it's flexibility, allowing you to integrate your education into a complex life, the online route is the clear winner. There is no single best path, only the path that is best for you. Take a moment and really think about your life right now. Your finances, your family obligations, your learning style. Be brutally honest with yourself. Because once you choose your path, the next step is navigating the specific set of toll roads and checkpoints that every single state puts in your way. And that means confronting the gatekeepers of the teaching profession, regardless of which route you take, the standardized certification exams. These tests are the great equalizer, and in the next part we're going to break down exactly what they are, why they exist, and how to conquer them. So let's dive deep into the heart of these gatekeepers. To understand how to beat them, you first have to understand why they even exist. It's not just to make your life difficult, I promise. Think about it from the public's perspective. When a parent sends their child to school, they are placing an immense amount of trust in the person at the front of the classroom. They trust that this person not only knows how to teach, but also has a fundamental grasp of the subject they're teaching. These standardized exams are the system's attempt at quality control. They are a baseline, a universal standard that says, this person has demonstrated the foundational knowledge and skills required to be a professional educator. It's about accountability for the profession and creating a standard of trust for the public. Now let's talk about the big one, the name you will hear over and over again, the Praxis. Administered by a company called ETS, the same people behind the GRE and TOEFL, the Praxis series is the most common set of certification exams used across the United States. If you're not in a state with its own custom test, you're almost certainly going to be taking the Praxis. It's not just one test. It's a suite of them, and they generally fall into three main categories. First, you have the Praxis Core Academic Skills for Educators, or just the Praxis Core. This is the entry ticket. In fact, many teacher preparation programs require you to pass the Praxis Core before you can even be fully admitted into their program. Think of it like a mini SAT or ACT specifically for aspiring teachers. It's not designed to test your knowledge of advanced chemistry or Shakespearean literature. Instead, it tests your proficiency in three basic areas: reading, writing, and mathematics. The reading section tests your ability to understand and analyze texts. The writing section tests your grammar and your ability to construct a coherent argument in an essay. And the math section covers foundational concepts, algebra, geometry, data analysis, the kind of practical math skills that every educated adult, and especially a teacher, should possess. This test ensures that before you learn how to teach, you have the core academic skills necessary to succeed in a rigorous professional program and, ultimately, in the classroom. Next up, we have the Praxis subject assessments. These are often informally called the Praxis 2 tests. This is where you prove you know your stuff. While the Praxis core was about general skills, the subject assessments are all about specific content knowledge. If you want to be a high school biology teacher, you will take the biology content knowledge exam. An aspiring elementary school teacher? You'll take the comprehensive elementary education multiple subjects test, which covers literacy, math, science, and social studies. There are over 90 of these tests, covering everything from agriculture to world languages. This is the exam that certifies to the state that you are a subject matter expert, that you have the depth of knowledge required to actually teach the content on your certificate. The third major category is the Principles of Learning and Teaching test, or the PLT. If the subject assessment is the What to Teach exam, the PLT is the How to Teach exam. This test isn't about your knowledge of the Pythagorean theorem. It's about your knowledge of pedagogy. Pedagogy is simply the theory and practice of education, the art and science of teaching. The PLT will present you with classroom scenarios and ask you to apply your knowledge of things like student development theories from psychologists like Piaget and Vygotsky. It will test you on instructional strategies, classroom management techniques, assessment methods, and even the legal and ethical responsibilities of a teacher. This is the test that separates someone who just knows a subject from someone who knows how to effectively teach that subject to a diverse group of learners. Now, a critical point. Not every state uses the Praxis. The United States education system is famously decentralized, and teacher certification is no exception. Several large states have developed their own unique battery of exams. If you're in Texas, you won't be taking the Praxis. You'll be taking the TXES, the Texas Examinations of Educator Standards. California has the CBEST, which is their basic skills test similar to the Praxis core, and the CSET, the California Subject Examinations for Teachers, which are their version of the Praxis subject assessments. Florida has the FTCE, and New York has the NYSTCE. But here's the secret. They are all built on the same fundamental blueprint. Whether it's called the Praxis core, the CBEST, or the TXES core subjects, there will be a test of your basic reading, writing, and math skills. Whether it's called the Praxis Subject Assessment, the CSET, or the FTCE Subject Area Exam, there will be a test of your specific content knowledge. And while the pedagogy test might have a different name, every state requires you to prove you understand the principles of effective teaching. The acronyms change, but the core philosophy remains the same. So, how do you conquer these exams? This is where so many aspiring teachers go wrong. They see it as a giant, insurmountable mountain and just start climbing randomly. You need a strategy. Step 1. Know your enemy. Before you buy a single study guide or watch a single video, go to the official website for your specific test. Whether that's the ETS Praxis website or your state's Department of Education page. Find the specific test you need to take and look for a document called the Study Companion, or Test at a Glance. This document is the absolute holy grail. It is the blueprint for the exam written by the people who write the test. It will tell you in excruciating detail every single topic that could possibly be on the exam. It will tell you how many questions are in each section and what percentage of the test each section represents. Printing this out and using it as your checklist is the single most important thing you can do. You are no longer studying blindly. You are preparing for a known entity. Step 2. Use high-quality materials, starting with the official ones. The test makers like ETS sell official practice tests. These are your gold standard. They are composed of retired questions from previous exams or questions written in the exact same style. Taking an official practice test is the closest you can get to experiencing the real thing. After that, you can supplement with well-regarded third-party resources. Companies like Mamatrix, 240 Tutoring, or Kaplan have built entire businesses around helping people pass these exams. But always start with the official source material first. Step 3. Simulate game day. It's not enough to study in short bursts. These are long, mentally draining exams. You need to build your stamina. At least once or twice before your test date, you need to sit down and take a full-time practice test in one sitting. No phone. No distractions. Follow the exact time limits. This does two things. First, it reveals your pacing. Do you have enough time, or are you rushing at the end? Second, it gets you used to the feeling of sustained mental effort, so when you walk into the real testing center, the length of the exam won't be a shock to your system. Step 4, and this is the most critical. Deconstruct your mistakes. The value of a practice test is not the score you get. The value is in the analysis you do afterward. For every single question you got wrong, and even the ones you guessed on and got right, you need to perform an autopsy. Why did you get it wrong? Was it a content gap? You simply didn't know the information? Was it a misreading of the question? Was it a careless error? Or did you run out of time? Keep a log or a journal of your mistakes. If you see a pattern, like you constantly miss questions about the Gilded Age in your history exam, you now know exactly where to focus your studying. This is the difference between passive review and active, targeted preparation. Ultimately, you need a mindset shift. These exams aren't just a bureaucratic hurdle. They are your first professional challenge. They are an opportunity to solidify your content knowledge and review the foundational principles of good teaching. Passing these tests is more than just getting a piece of paper. It's a rite of passage that should give you a measure of confidence. It's proof to the state, to your future employer, and most importantly to yourself, that you have the knowledge base required for one of the most important jobs in the world. Once you've conquered these exams and have that passing score report in your hand, you've cleared a major hurdle. You've proven your knowledge on paper. But the next step is to prove you can apply it in the real world with real students. And that brings us to the single most transformative, challenging, and crucial part of any teacher's journey: student teaching. This is where the theory ends and the practice begins. It's a feeling unlike any other. The classroom door closes behind you with a heavy click, and suddenly, the theoretical world of pedagogy and child psychology evaporates. In front of you are 20, maybe 30 pairs of eyes. Curious, bored, excited, challenging. They're not case studies. They're kids. And for the next 16 weeks, this room is your crucible. This is your trial by fire. Student teaching isn't just a course. It's a full-time, unpaid apprenticeship where you are simultaneously the student, the employee, and the person in charge. It's an exhausting, exhilarating, and often terrifying tightrope walk. And your safety net, your guide, your harshest critic, and your biggest advocate is one person: your cooperating teacher. This relationship is, without exaggeration, the single most important factor in determining your success. This veteran educator has agreed to open their classroom, their life's work, to you. They are your mentor, your manager, and your evaluator, all rolled into one. Your first task, before you even think about lesson planning, is to build a foundation of trust and respect with this person. Show up early. Stay late. Ask questions not just about the curriculum but about why they do things a certain way. I noticed you used a turn and talk strategy there. Could you tell me your thinking behind that? What's the best way to get parents on my side in this school community? Absorb their wisdom. Learn the names of their own kids. Offer to make copies, grade papers, organize the bookshelf, do the grunt work with a smile. You are a guest in their professional home. Act like it. Humility is your greatest asset here. You are not there to show them the new way you learned in college. You are there to learn from a master craftsman. Your journey will almost always follow a pattern known as the gradual release of responsibility. Starts with observation. For the first week, maybe two, you might feel like a ghost. You'll sit in the back, taking frantic notes, trying to learn 24 names, deciphering the secret language of the school's bell schedule, and wrestling with a profound sense of imposter syndrome. You'll watch your cooperating teacher conduct the classroom like a seasoned orchestra conductor. They make it look effortless. It is not. Watch how they command attention without raising their voice. Watch how they redirect a disruptive student with a single look. Watch how they check for understanding, how they manage transitions between activities, how they make every single minute count. This is not passive time. This is the most intense studying you will ever do. You're not just watching lessons. You're reverse engineering a career's worth of experience in real time. Then the release begins. Start small. Your cooperating teacher might say, "Hey, can you take the first 10 minutes tomorrow and lead the warm-up activity?" And your heart will pound in your chest. You'll spend 3 hours that night planning a 10-minute activity. You'll practice it in front of your bathroom mirror. The next day you'll stand before the class, your voice will crack, you'll sweat through your shirt, but you'll do it. And it will probably be fine. Not great, but fine. The kids will participate, you'll survive, and you'll feel a jolt of adrenaline you've never felt before. From there you'll start co-teaching. Maybe you'll teach the math lesson while your mentor teaches reading. You'll take on one subject, then two. You are no longer the apprentice watching from the side. You are now an active partner. This is where the feedback loop becomes critical. After a lesson, you'll sit down with your cooperating teacher. and they will deconstruct your performance. The feedback can be blunt. You lost the students in the back corner when you were explaining the directions. Your pacing was too slow, we didn't get to the independent practice. You need to work on your teacher voice. This feedback is not a personal attack. It is a gift. Do not get defensive. Do not make excuses. Take notes, nod your head and say, "Thank you. What could I do differently next time?" Then go home, reflect, and consciously work on that one thing the next day. The student teachers who fail are the ones who can't take criticism. The ones who succeed are the ones who crave it, who understand that every piece of constructive feedback is a stepping stone toward competence. And then comes the day you've been dreading and dreaming of. Your cooperating teacher will say, "Okay, for the next 2 weeks they're all yours. This is the solo flight, the full takeover. It is your classroom now." You plan every subject, every transition, every minute from the first bell to the last. Your cooperating teacher is still in the room, usually in the back, taking notes for your evaluation, but they will not intervene unless there is a true crisis. The silence from the back of the room is deafening. This is where you will truly discover if you have what it takes. You will have a day where your lesson plan is a work of art. The students are engaged, the learning is palpable, and you feel like you are walking on air. You'll think, "I was born for this." And the very next day, you will have a lesson that completely bombs. The technology will fail, the students will be off the walls, the activity you thought was brilliant will fall flat, and you will want to crawl under your desk and disappear. Welcome to teaching. This is the point. The struggle is the point. It's in those moments of failure that you learn the most. You learn how to improvise. You learn how to have a plan B and a plan C. You learn how to read a room and pivot in 30 seconds. You learn that a perfect lesson plan on paper means nothing if you can't connect with the human beings in front of you. You'll learn that classroom management isn't about power. It's about relationships, routines, and mutual respect. You'll learn to celebrate the smallest victories, the struggling reader who finally decodes a tough word, the shy student who raises their hand for the first time, the aha moment that lights up a child's face. These moments are the fuel that will get you through the impossible days. Throughout this entire process, you're not just teaching. You're also being watched. Your university supervisor will pop in for formal observations. You'll have meetings, write reflections, and build a portfolio of your work. You are constantly documenting your growth, proving that you are meeting the standards required for certification. This isn't just about surviving. It's about systematically demonstrating your competence. Student teaching will break you down and build you back up into something new. You walk in as a university student who knows the theories of education. You walk out 16 weeks later as a teacher. You may be a brand new, inexperienced, and slightly terrified teacher, but you are a teacher nonetheless. You've stood in the arena. You've managed the chaos. You've planned, taught, assessed, failed, and succeeded. You have earned the title, and now you have to formally prove it, not just with your classroom performance, but with a complex, high-stakes assessment that synthesizes everything you've just learned. You have to create the ultimate evidence of your readiness to teach. This evidence has a name that strikes fear and anxiety into the hearts of teacher candidates across the country. It's a multi-syllable monster, a bureaucratic behemoth, the final gatekeeper standing between you and your own classroom. It's called the EdTPA, the Educative Teacher Performance Assessment, and it is, without a doubt, the most demanding, exhaustive, and soul-crushing project you will undertake in your entire preparation program. Forget final exams. Forget term papers. The EdTPA is different. It's not a test of what you can recall. It's a demonstration of what you can do. It's a comprehensive portfolio, a meticulously curated collection of documents, videos, and written commentaries that can easily swell to over 50 pages. You're not just answering questions. You are building a legal case for your own competence, with your students' work as the evidence and anonymous, far-off scores as the jury. Your entire future, your degree, your certification, that job offer you've been dreaming of, it all hangs in the balance dependent on the score you get on this one massive submission. The EdTPA is built around a three-headed dragon, 3 core tasks that you must conquer: planning, instruction, and assessment. Sounds simple enough, right? That's the beautiful, cruel deception of it all. First, there's planning. This isn't just writing a few lesson plans. Oh no, this is creating a multi-day learning segment, a mini unit, and justifying every single second of it with educational theory and research. You start with your students. You have to write a deep, almost invasive analysis of your classroom context. The demographics, the language needs, the students with IEPs or 504 plans, The so-called focus learners you have to select and track with microscopic precision. You have to prove you know these kids, not just their names but their academic histories, their personal interests, their community backgrounds. Then you build the lessons. Every single handout, every PowerPoint slide, every activity has to be created and included. But the real work is in the commentary. For every choice you make, you must write a detailed rationale. Why this specific text? Why this grouping strategy? How does this activity support your English language learners and challenge your gifted students simultaneously? You're not just a teacher. You're an architect, a sociologist, and a psychologist, drawing a complex blueprint and then writing a 1,000-page manual explaining why the foundation won't crack. The blinking cursor on the blank page of the planning commentary template becomes your mortal enemy. You find yourself awake at 3 a.m., frantically searching for a Vygotsky quote to justify why you're letting students talk to each other. Once your blueprint is agonizingly complete, you face the second beast: instruction. This is where you have to prove your plan actually works, and you have to film it. You must submit 1 or 2 unedited video clips, typically about 15 minutes long, of you teaching one of the lessons you so carefully designed. This is the moment of truth. This is the high wire act. You spend a week hyping the kids up, getting permission slip signed, setting up the camera, and praying the technology works. You know exactly what the scorers are looking for: a positive learning environment, deep student engagement, rigorous academic discourse. You have a vision in your head of a perfect, Socratic dialogue where students are respectfully building on each other's ideas and arriving at profound new understandings. The reality? The day you choose to film, there's a fire drill, or the quietest student in the class, who you've been trying to draw out all semester, finally has a breakthrough moment. But he's sitting just outside the camera's frame. The kid who never acts up decides today is the day to build a fort out of his textbook. You ask a deep, thought-provoking question, and you're met with absolute dead silence. The camera captures it all. The awkward pauses, the student yawning, your own nervous tremor. And the rule is, no editing. You can't cut out the part where you tripped over the power cord. You can't splice together the 2 good minutes from Tuesday with the 3 good minutes from Wednesday. It has to be a continuous, raw, unvarnished slice of your classroom life. You watch the footage back, cringing, analyzing every frame, praying you captured enough evidence of student learning to satisfy the faceless graders hundreds of miles away. But you're not done. The third, and perhaps most intellectually grueling, task is assessment. You've planned the lesson, you've taught the lesson, now you have to prove the students actually learned something. You select work samples from your focused learners. You scan them, anonymize them, and then you provide written feedback directly on the work. But that's just the start. The real work is, again, in the commentary. You have to conduct a deep analysis of the student work, looking for patterns of understanding and common misconceptions across the entire class. You have to create charts and graphs to visualize your data. Then you write. You write about the feedback you provided and why you chose those specific comments. You write about how you will use this assessment data to inform your very next lesson. This is where you have to connect all the dots. You have to show how the planning from Task 1 led to the instructional moves in Task 2, which resulted in the student learning, or lack thereof, demonstrated in Task 3. And then comes the final reflection. Pages and pages where you essentially perform a brutal autopsy on your own teaching. What worked? What didn't? What would you do differently next time? And you can't just say, "I'd speak louder." You have to root your reflections in pedagogical theory, based on the evidence of student confusion around Concept X, and drawing from constructivist learning theory. In my next lesson, I will implement a jigsaw activity to foster peer-to-peer scaffolding and co-construction of knowledge. It is relentless. Finally, after weeks or more likely months of relentless work, you gather all the pieces: the context description, the lesson plans, the handouts, the video files, the student work samples, and the dozens of pages of commentary. You upload it all to a Pearson website, pay a fee of around $300, and click Submit. And then you wait. For weeks, you exist in a state of suspended animation. You've sent your heart and soul, your professional identity, out into the ether to be judged. You replay the video in your head, you second-guess every sentence you wrote. You hear horror stories from last year's cohort about people who failed by a single point and had to pay another $300 to redo a section. Your entire career trajectory is pending. The EdTPA is controversial, to say the least. Many argue it's an expensive, overly standardized, and inequitable barrier to the profession. They say it stifles creativity, forcing teachers to teach to a rubric instead of to their students. And they're not entirely wrong. But there's another side to it. Going through that trial by fire forces a level of reflection and intentionality that nothing else can. You will never again design a lesson without thinking about the why. You will never again assess student work without considering the patterns and the next steps. It burns the cycle of planning, teaching, and assessing into your very DNA. You may hate every single second of it, but it changes you. It forces you to move from someone who wants to be a teacher to someone who has the evidence to prove they are one. And as you wait for that score to post, you're no longer just a student teacher. You're a defendant, awaiting the jury's verdict on your own future. And then one morning it arrives. Not with a bang, but with a quiet ping from your phone. An email with a subject line that makes your blood run cold. Your test score is now available. This is it. The digital guillotine. You log into the testing portal, your fingers fumbling on the keyboard, your password suddenly feeling like a foreign language. The page loads with agonizing slowness, as if the internet itself understands the gravity of this moment. And there it is. A number. Just a single number that will either validate years of work or send you spiraling back to the beginning. For a moment, you just stare at it. You don't even know what the passing score is. You frantically search the website, your heart hammering against your ribs. You find the threshold. You look back at your score. You look at the threshold again. And then a wave of something so potent it almost knocks you over washes through you. Relief. Pure, unadulterated relief. You passed. You actually passed. The jury has returned its verdict and you are qualified. But here's the cruel joke that no one tells you. Passing the test isn't the finish line. It's not even the beginning of the end. It's the end of the beginning. You've just defeated the mini-boss, only to find yourself at the gates of the final castle. And the gatekeeper is a faceless, underfunded, and overwhelmingly complex state bureaucracy. You thought the test was hard? Welcome to the paperwork. Your test score doesn't automatically teleport itself to the people who grant teaching certificates. Oh no, that would be far too simple. You now have to officially request that the testing company send your official score report to your state's Department of Education. This, of course, comes with a fee. You are literally paying to prove that you paid to pass a test. Get used to this feeling. While that digital signal is making its way through the ether, you need to begin assembling what I call your portfolio of proof. This is the master application, the culmination of your entire journey, and it requires you to become an expert-level administrative assistant for your own life. First, you'll need your official sealed transcripts from every single college or university you have ever attended. Not just the one you got your degree from, that one community college class you took on a whim 10 years ago. They need it. And it has to be an official copy, sent directly from the institution or given to you in a sealed envelope that you are forbidden to open, lest you tamper with the sacred record of that C you got in Intro to Philosophy. Pro tip: order 2 official copies of everything, one for the state and one for your own files. Trust me, it will save you a headache later. Next, you'll need official verification that you completed your teacher preparation program. This is usually a formal letter or a specific form signed by the dean of your college of education. This piece of paper is the university's final blessing, their official stamp saying, yes, this person survived our program. They are ready. You'll have to hunt down the right person in the right office to get this signed, a mini quest in itself. And now we arrive at the most intimidating part of the entire application process for so many people: the background check and fingerprinting. You will have to go to an approved location, usually a specific police department or a third-party company, to have your fingerprints digitally scanned and sent to both your state's Bureau of Investigation and the FBI. This is non-negotiable. They are going to comb through your entire adult life, looking for any red flags. And let's just talk about this because it's a source of incredible anxiety. What are they actually looking for? Are they going to deny your teaching certificate because of a speeding ticket you got when you were 19? Almost certainly not. Are they going to care about that noise complaint your neighbor filed in college? No. They are looking for serious patterns of behavior and major criminal offenses. Specifically, crimes involving children, violence, theft, and serious drug offenses. The most important rule here is radical honesty. Your application will have a section where you must disclose any and all past arrests or convictions, even if they were expunged. The biggest mistake you can make is lying by omission. The background check will find it. And a 10-year-old minor infraction isn't the problem. Lying about it on a state application, that is a problem. That speaks to character and integrity. and it's one of the fastest ways to get your application denied. So, if you have something on your record, own it. Disclose it, explain it, and show that it was a mistake in your past that you've learned from. A mistake is forgivable. A lie is not. Once your fingerprints are submitted, you wait. And you continue to build your file. You'll pay the application fee, which can be anywhere from $50 to over $200, depending on your state. You'll pay the fee for the background check. You'll pay the fee for the fingerprinting service. You'll pay the fee for sending your transcripts. You start to realize that the final step to becoming a teacher is navigating a maze of 1,000 tiny financial cuts. You'll gather all these documents: the score reports, the sealed transcripts, the letter from your dean, the receipt for your fingerprinting. You will fill out a 10-page application form, double-checking every single box, making sure you spelled your own name right. You'll package it all up, or more likely these days, scan and upload each individual document into a clunky, outdated online portal that looks like it was designed in 1998. And then you'll hover your mouse over the submit button. This feels different than finishing the test. The test was a measure of your knowledge. This is a measure of your life. It's your academic history, your personal history, your financial investment, all distilled into a single digital file being sent to a government server. You take a deep breath and you click. And the silence that follows is deafening. There's no confetti, no immediate confirmation, just a small message that says, "Your application has been received and is pending review." Pending review. You have just handed over the keys to your entire professional future to an anonymous state employee in a cubicle somewhere, who is likely working through a stack of hundreds of other applications just like yours. The waiting game begins anew, but this time it feels different. You're not waiting for a score. You're waiting for permission. Permission to finally call yourself what you've been working for years to become. And as you sit there staring at the confirmation screen, a terrifying thought begins to creep in. Your application is now in a queue and it could take weeks or even months to be approved. But school districts aren't waiting. Hiring season for the next school year isn't on hold. In fact, it's already starting. Principals are posting jobs right now. They're conducting interviews next week. The starting gun for the race to get a job has already fired, and you're stuck in the waiting room without the one piece of paper you need to even be allowed on the track. This is, without a doubt, the most frustrating, soul-crushing part of the entire process. It's a special kind of purgatory. You've done everything right. You survived student teaching, you passed your exams, you completed the coursework, you filled out a mountain of paperwork. You have proven you have the knowledge, the skill, and the heart to be a teacher. And your reward is to sit by your mailbox, hitting refresh on your email 100 times a day, while your entire professional future hangs in the balance, held captive by a bureaucratic process that moves at the speed of a tired glacier. Feels deeply fundamentally unfair. Because you know what's happening out there. You see the job postings on district websites. You hear through the grapevine that your dream school is looking for a new history teacher, the exact position you've been working towards for years. But you can't apply, or you think you can't, so you wait. And with every day that passes, the anxiety builds. It's a voice in the back of your head whispering doubts. What if it doesn't come in time? What if all the good jobs are filled by the time my certificate is approved? What if, after all this work, I'm left with the scraps, or worse, nothing at all for the upcoming school year? This period of waiting is where countless promising teachers lose momentum. They become passive. They let the process happen to them. But what I'm about to tell you is the single most important strategic shift you can make right now. Do not be passive. This waiting period is not a waiting room. It's a launch pad. You just have to know how to use it. You can, and you absolutely should, be applying for jobs right now, even without that physical certificate in your hand. Here's how you turn this massive disadvantage into a non-issue, and in some cases, even an advantage. First, you need to understand the difference between being certified and having the certificate. In the eyes of the state, once you have completed every single requirement, coursework, exams, background checks, everything, you are, for all intents and purposes, certifiable. The piece of paper itself, the physical certificate, is just the final administrative step. It's the proof, not the accomplishment itself. Hiring principals know this. They go through this every single year with new graduates. They don't expect you to have the physical document in May if you just graduated. What they need is official assurance that it's on its way. So your first mission is to get that assurance. You need to march yourself, either physically or digitally, back to your university's certification office. This is the office that handled your paperwork and sent your recommendation to the state. You are going to ask them for a very specific document. It might be called a letter of program completion, a statement of eligibility, or something similar. This is an official letter on university letterhead, signed by your certification officer, stating that as of a certain date, you, Jane or John Doe, have successfully completed all institutional and state requirements for the professional teaching certificate in your subject area, and that your official recommendation has been forwarded to the State Department of Education for final processing. This letter is your golden ticket. It's your temporary passport. While you're at it, you should also contact the State Department of Education Certification Division. Be polite, be patient, but be persistent. Ask them if they can provide a similar statement of eligibility, or at least confirm via email that your application is complete and currently under review. Get a screenshot. Save the email as a PDF. The goal is to gather an arsenal of official documentation that proves your status. Now, armed with these documents, you attack the job market. When you fill out an online application and it has that dreaded checkbox, do you hold a valid state teaching certificate? You don't have to lie. But you don't have to just check no either. Many applications will have an option for pending or eligible. So you select that. If not, you check yes and immediately clarify in your cover letter. And this is the second key, your cover letter. You don't hide your certification status. You address it head-on in the very first paragraph. You frame it with confidence, not as an apology. It should sound something like this. I am writing to express my enthusiastic interest in the English teacher position at Northwood High School. I have recently completed all requirements for my professional teaching certificate in secondary English education from the University of your university, and am awaiting the final issuance of the certificate from the state, which is anticipated by date. A letter confirming my eligibility from my university is attached for your review. Look at what that statement does. It doesn't say, "I'm sorry, I don't have my certificate yet." It says, "I'm done. I'm ready." The paperwork is just a formality. It shows you're proactive, you're transparent, and you understand the process. You've already answered the principal's first question before they even had to ask it. You've removed the obstacle. But we're not going to stop there. The third and most powerful strategy is to bypass the passive online application process altogether. While everyone else is just clicking submit and praying, you are going to use this waiting time to network. Make a list of the top 10 schools you want to work for. Find the name of the principal and the department head for your subject. And you are going to send them an email. This is not an email asking for a job. That's crucial. This is an email asking for information. It's an informational interview request. It goes something like this. Dear Principal Smith, my name is your name, and I am a newly qualified social studies teacher, having just completed my certification program at your university. I have been following the incredible work your school is doing in project-based learning, and am deeply impressed. As I begin my professional career, I am hoping to learn more from experienced leaders in the field. If you had just 15 minutes in the coming weeks, I would be so grateful for the opportunity to briefly speak with you about your educational philosophy at Northwood High, and what you look for in new educators. Thank you for your time and consideration. 9 out of 10 principals will ignore that email, but one won't. And that one conversation is worth more than 100 blind applications. You're no longer a name on a pile of papers. You're a person, a passionate, proactive, intelligent person who took the initiative. You can ask them about the school, the students, the culture. And at the end, you can mention, I'm actively seeking a position for the fall, and have already submitted my application to the district. My certification is currently being processed by the state, and I'd be thrilled to be considered for any openings at your school. Now, when your application does cross their desk, they remember you. Oh, that's the sharp young teacher I spoke to last week. Let's pull that one out. You've just leapfrogged the competition. Finally, let's say you do all this and you land an interview. The question will come up. So, can you just confirm your certification status for us? This is your moment to shine. You don't stumble. You don't say, well, I'm still waiting for it. You look them in the eye, smile confidently, and say, absolutely. I've completed 100% of the requirements. The state is just processing the final issuance. I actually have the official letter of eligibility from my university right here for your records, and the state anticipates having the final certificate to me by July 1st. You slide the letter across the table. In that moment, you are the most prepared, professional, and on-the-ball candidate they have ever seen. I saw this happen with a former student of mine. Let's call her Sarah. She was in a panic. waiting on her special education certificate while the prime hiring season was in full swing. She followed this exact plan. She got her eligibility letter. She sent out 5 informational interview emails. One principal, a 20-year veteran, was so impressed by her initiative that she granted her a 15-minute call. That call turned into 45 minutes. The principal told her to apply for an opening that hadn't even been posted publicly yet. Sarah interviewed a week later, used that confident line about her certification, and was offered the job on the spot. The offer was, of course, a contingent job offer. This is a standard tool that schools use. It means, we are hiring you, contingent upon you receiving your official teaching certificate by your contract start date. They are officially reserving the spot for you. They are taking you off the market. It's a promise, and it allows them to lock in the best candidates early, before other districts can poach them. So you see, this waiting period is not a weakness. It's a filter. It filters out the passive people who just sit and wait, and it reveals the proactive, resourceful, and determined people who find a way to take control of their own destiny. This is your time to prepare, to network, to make a name for yourself before you even have the piece of paper that says you can. It's your chance to get ahead of the pack. Because once that certificate does arrive in your mailbox, you don't want to be starting at the starting line. You want to be halfway down the track with a job offer already in hand. Now, getting that interview is one thing. But there is one catastrophic, yet incredibly common, mistake that people make on their resumes that gets them thrown into the no pile instantly, regardless of their qualifications or certification status. It's a tiny detail that signals to every principal that you are an amateur, and we need to make sure you erase it from your application materials forever. So what is this tiny fatal detail? It's your email address. I'm serious. If your resume has an email like surferdude88@hotmail.com or kittycatlover23@yahoo.com, you're done. It screams immaturity. It tells a principal, before they've even read your name, that you haven't fully made the transition from student to professional. It's like showing up to a job interview in flip-flops. The solution is painfully simple. Create a clean professional email address. Just your name, firstname.lastname@email.com, or some simple variation. It takes 5 minutes, it's free, and it instantly removes a massive subconscious red flag from your application. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about the holy trinity of your job application: your resume, your cover letter, and your portfolio. Most people think they know how to do these, and most people are wrong. They treat them like a history report, a boring list of things they've done, but that's not what they are. This isn't a history report. It's an advertising campaign, and the product is you. Let's start with the resume. The first thing you need to do is take that objective statement at the top and drag it directly into the trash. Objective: to obtain a teaching position at an elementary school where I can utilize my skills. It is the most useless, space-wasting sentence in the history of job applications. Of course, your objective is to get a job. You sent them a resume. Tells them nothing. Instead, you're going to replace it with a professional summary or a profile. This is a 3 to 4 line power statement that immediately tells the principal who you are and what value you bring. Think of it as the trailer for the movie of you. It should be packed with keywords. Certified K-6 educator with 5 years of experience in differentiated instruction and technology integration. Proven ability to increase student engagement in Title I schools. Seeking to bring expertise in project-based learning to the 3rd grade team at Northwood Elementary. See the difference? One is a generic wish. The other is a confident declaration of value. Next, your bullet points. Stop listing your duties. Principal knows what a teacher does. They don't need you to write top math to 5th graders. That's the job description, not your accomplishment. Instead, you need to showcase your impact. How did you do it better? What were the results? This is where you use the magic of numbers. Numbers are proof. Instead of top math, try increased average student math scores on district benchmarks by 12% through the implementation of small group rotational learning. Instead of managed classroom behavior, try decreased classroom disciplinary incidents by 40% by introducing a restorative justice-based conflict resolution model. Quantify everything you can. Test scores, attendance rates, project completion, parent engagement. Even if you're a brand new teacher, you can use data from your student teaching. Designed and executed a 6-week ELA unit that resulted in 95% of students demonstrating mastery on the final assessment. You are not a list of tasks. You are a collection of results. Now for the cover letter. This is where most applicants fail spectacularly. They write a generic, boring letter that basically just repeats their resume in paragraph form. Dear hiring manager, I am writing to express my interest in the teaching position I saw advertised. Delete. Stop. The cover letter is not a summary of your past. It is a sales pitch for your future at their school. It's your chance to tell a story and make a personal connection. First, never ever address it to whom it may concern or dear hiring manager. That's the professional equivalent of yelling, "Hey you," across a crowded room. Find the principal's name. It's on the school website. Takes 30 seconds of research. Using their name spelled correctly shows you've done the bare minimum of homework and are genuinely interested in their specific school, not just blasting your resume to every open position in the state. Second, your opening paragraph needs to be a hook. Don't just state the job you're applying for. Connect with their mission. For the past 2 years, I have followed Northwood Elementary's incredible journey in becoming a STEM-certified institution. Your school's commitment to hands-on, inquiry-based learning directly aligns with my own teaching philosophy and my experience developing a robotics club that competed at the state level. Right away, you've told them you know who they are, you admire what they do, and you already have skills that fit their unique identity. You're not just a random applicant anymore. You're a potential colleague who gets it. The body of your cover letter should be a direct response to their needs. Read the job description like a cheat sheet. They list the qualifications they want. You show them exactly how you have them. A powerful technique is the 2-column or T-format letter. On the left, you list their requirement from the job posting. On the right, you list your specific qualification or experience that meets it. Your requirement: experience with co-teaching in an inclusive classroom. My qualification: collaborated daily with a special education teacher for a full academic year to design and adapt lesson plans for 28 students, including 7 with IEPs, resulting in improved academic outcomes for all learners. It's a direct, undeniable matchup between their problem and your solution. Finally, let's talk about the secret weapon that 9 out of 10 new teachers completely ignore: the professional portfolio. In a digital world, this sounds old-fashioned, but it is the single most powerful tool you can bring to an interview. Your resume tells them what you've done. Your portfolio shows them. It's the tangible proof of your skills. It's the difference between saying, "I'm a great cook," and handing someone a delicious, perfectly prepared meal. So what goes in it? It should be a professional binder, cleanly organized with tabs. Section 1, your core documents. Have extra copies of your resume, your certificate, your transcripts, and your letters of recommendation. Section 2, your teaching philosophy. A 1-page, single-space statement of your beliefs about teaching and learning. Section 3, lesson and unit plans. Showcase your best work. Include a multi-day unit plan that shows how you sequence learning, differentiate for various students, and integrate assessments. Make sure the plans are detailed and professional. Section 4, examples of student work. This is huge. Include photocopies or photos of student projects, essays, or assignments, with all student names removed, of course. If you can, include examples that show student growth over time, like a first draft and a final draft of an essay. This is concrete evidence of your impact. Section 5, classroom management. Include your classroom management plan, your rules and procedures, examples of parent communication letters, anything that demonstrates how you create a positive and productive learning environment. And you need a digital version too. Create a simple, professional-looking website on a free platform like Google Sites or Wix. Put all these documents on there. You can then put the link to your digital portfolio right in the header of your resume and in your email signature. This tells a principal that you are organized, tech-savvy, and transparent. When they're sitting with a stack of 100 resumes, and yours has a link where they can immediately see a video of you teaching a lesson or browse through your best unit plans, whose resume do you think is going to the top of the pile? By perfecting these 3 documents, the results-driven resume, the storytelling cover letter, and the evidence-packed portfolio, you're no longer just another certified applicant. You've transformed yourself into a professional candidate who markets their value with precision and confidence. You've made their decision easy. You've built the perfect application package, a machine designed to do one thing: get you the interview. And then you get that email, the one you've been waiting for, the invitation to come in and meet them. But all of this work, all of this preparation can be completely destroyed in the first 5 minutes of that interview. There is one question, one moment where a candidate's entire case can collapse, And most people never even see it coming. The question is this: so tell me, why do you want to be a teacher? That's it. That's the landmine. Seems so simple, so innocent. It's often the very first question they ask, a gentle icebreaker to get the conversation started. But it's not an icebreaker. It's a filter. It is the single most important question you will face, and your answer will frame the entire rest of the interview. A weak answer here puts you in a hole you will spend the next 45 minutes trying to dig out of. A strong answer sets the tone that you are a serious professional who is here to solve their problems. The reason it's so dangerous is because it invites you to give a terrible, cliched, and ultimately selfish answer. And 90% of candidates walk right into the trap. They say things like, "Oh, I just love kids," or "I want to have a job where I can make a difference," or the classic, "I had a teacher in 3rd grade who changed my life, and I want to be just like her." Let's be brutally honest for a second. The interview panel, made up of a principal, an assistant principal, and a veteran teacher, has heard these exact answers 1,000 times. They are sitting there on their 10th interview of the day, and their eyes are glazing over. Why are these answers so bad? Because they are all about you. I love. I want. I had. The school doesn't care about what you love or what you want. They have a problem. Their problem is a classroom full of students who need an expert educator to guide them, challenge them, and prepare them for the future. They are not looking to fulfill your childhood dream. They are looking to hire a highly skilled professional to do an incredibly difficult job. And your answer to that first question needs to prove from the very first sentence that you are that professional. So how do you do it? You need to reframe the question in your mind. They are not asking, "Why do you want to be a teacher?" They are asking, "Why have you chosen the profession of teaching as the vehicle through which you will provide value to our students and our community?" Your answer needs to be a story, not a fairy tale, but a professional narrative. I call it your anchor story. It needs to have 3 parts: the spark, the investigation, and the connection. Part 1 is the spark. This is where you can briefly, and I mean briefly, mention that personal connection. It's okay to say you were inspired by a great teacher, or that you love seeing that light bulb moment in a child's eyes. But it cannot be the main point. It's just the hook, the humanizing element that gets the story started. It should take no more than 15 seconds. My journey toward teaching really started in high school when a history teacher, Mr. Davison, used a classroom debate to make the Constitutional Convention feel alive. It wasn't just about memorizing dates. It was about understanding conflict and compromise. See, quick, specific, and it sets up a theme: active, engaging learning. Part 2 is the investigation. This is the most critical and most often missed component. After you state your spark, you must immediately pivot to show that you didn't just rely on a fuzzy feeling. You treated this career choice with the seriousness it deserves. You have to show them that you investigated the reality of the profession. This is where you demonstrate that you are a professional, not a hobbyist. You say something like, "That experience sparked my interest, so in college I decided to really investigate the profession. I started by volunteering as a tutor at a local community center, which gave me my first real experience working with struggling readers. That led me to seek out a position as a substitute teacher for a year, where I experienced a wide range of classroom management styles and student needs, from kindergarten to 6th grade. I also read extensively, following educators like, and you name 1 or 2, to understand the current research on pedagogical best practices. What have you just done? You've shown them you're not naive. You've proven you have grit. You didn't just think teaching looked fun. You rolled up your sleeves, got into the trenches as a substitute, and did the academic work to back it up. You've transformed a vague feeling into a well-researched, deliberate career choice. You are no longer just another candidate who loves kids. You are an evidence-based practitioner who has actively prepared for the realities of the classroom. Part 3 is the connection. This is where you bring it all home and make it about them. You've told them the spark that started you, and the investigation that solidified you. Now you must connect it all directly to their school, their students, and their mission. This requires you to have done your homework. You must have read their school's website, looked at their school improvement plan, and understood their student demographics. The end of your answer sounds like this. And the reason I'm so excited about this specific position at Northwood Elementary is that my entire investigation has confirmed what I saw in that first history class. That student engagement is the key. When I read your school's mission statement and saw your emphasis on inquiry-based learning and your one-to-one technology initiative, I knew this was the kind of environment where I could put my training and passion into practice. My student teaching experience was in a school with a similar philosophy, and I developed a unit on local ecosystems that used project-based learning to increase student outcomes by 15%. I believe my dedication to that same hands-on engaging approach would be a tremendous asset to your team, and most importantly, to your students. Look at what that answer accomplishes. It started with a personal spark, it demonstrated professional due diligence through a rigorous investigation, and it ended by connecting your specific skills to their specific needs. You didn't say, "I need a job." You said, "You have a need and I am the solution." You've gone from a hopeful applicant to a prospective colleague. This entire journey, from the first moment you decided to become a teacher, through the late-night study sessions for your certification exams, the endless paperwork, the resume crafting, and now this interview, it's all been about one thing: transformation. It's about transforming a passion into a profession. It's about transforming yourself from a student into a leader. Getting your teaching certificate isn't the finish line. It's the key that unlocks the door. And when that door opens, you'll find the most challenging, frustrating, and exhausting job you could ever imagine. And you will also find the most rewarding. You will see the flash of understanding in a student's eyes. You will see a shy child find their voice. You will watch a struggling learner finally break through a barrier they thought was impossible. You will hold more influence and shape more futures in a single Tuesday morning than many people do in an entire career. This path is not for everyone. It demands resilience, patience, and a relentless belief in the potential of others. The fact that you have made it this far, that you have navigated this complex process, is a testament to your own strength and dedication. You have already proven you have what it takes. Now go into that interview not as someone asking for a chance, but as a professional offering your skills. Tell your anchor story. Show them you've done the work. Show them you are ready. The world needs great teachers. It needs you. Go be one.